Hi, I'm Torte. The microphone sucks because I'm in Tokyo, Japan still, playing on the Southeast Asia server, but with the release of 7.38c, a lot of the more annoying heroes have been nerfed, except for Morphling. Why is Morphling not nerfed? I don't know. They nerfed the trees, Nature's Prophet, they nerfed the rocks, Tiny, but they didn't nerf water. How do you nerf Ancient Apparition before nerfing Morphling? I don't know. Someone explain that one to me. Anyways, as I said, I'm still in Tokyo, playing on SEA server live on Twitch. Check that out, but let's talk about the big changes of this patch. Alright, so real simple, Abaddon has been nerfed ever so slightly, not that big of a deal. Basically, the biggest nerf he's received is that his Curse of the Avernus no longer deals damage to buildings. I think in combination with the Orber Corrosion, also worked on buildings with the Curse of Avernus, you basically pretty much melt the towers pretty quickly, which was one of the primary or pinnacle reasons why Abaddon was so great, alongside a very relatively easy laning, and on top of that had some pretty good damage output. His talents also got nerfed with Curse of Avernus, so overall he's just a lot less effective. I feel like because this is probably the longest part of the whole patch, Batrider's change to Flaming Lasso. It's not really a change, just more about consistency, right? A lot of force movement kind of kind of broke the lasso ability, like Slark Willow's Terrorize, which is a fear. Death Prophet Spirit Siphon also calls a fear, etc. This is just fear or movement based abilities don't break or don't cancel out the lasso, so now lasso is a little more reliable, especially if you were playing Batrider Pause 4, which is quite rare in this meta. So this is probably the change that people care the most about. Dazzle no longer has increased healing and damage when bouncing on enemies with Aghs Scepter. If you've played Dazzle or played against Dazzle, Aghs Scepter was pretty much a go-to, especially if you're playing mid Dazzle. Nothal Projection probably one of the most annoying and confusing spells if you don't know what the hell you're looking at. Nothal Projection being his ultimate ability. With Nothal Projection, he was able to basically hide his body in the trees like a murder's victim, and basically shoot out a projection illusion of himself that can't be targeted, is pretty much invulnerable, has pretty decent range. What was really annoying is that if you got a blink on Dazzle, with that novel projection, you can literally blink farther than the initial cast range, and then you wouldn't be pulled back until you really, um, really took advantage of that range and really tried to keep going further out, and eventually you start getting pulled back more and more. So that's overall been nerfed. The range is significantly less, 450 at initial cast, and the leash pull strength, which is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about pullback, is now triple than what it was before. So the more you try and blink or force that forward, the harder it is for you to really get a lot of reach out of the projection. It was very annoying because basically the attack range of Dazzle with the nozzle projection cast range and then blink meant that the hero could follow you pretty quickly, and more importantly, could reach you very easily. On top of the poison touch, his Q made it so that you took a lot of armor reduction and thus took a lot of damage from this universal attribute hero. And the duration has been nerfed from 15 to 12 seconds, but honestly, it feels like an hour when you encounter that thing. So Faceless Void time zone. I don't know if you guys were noticing Faceless Void as a pause 3, but he's played now as a pause 3, and he plays with time zone. Time zone's really good with a lot of casting based heroes. This is gonna be my next video coming up. It's gonna be how Faceless Void works with a lot of early game ganking heroes like Queen of Pain, like Invoker, etc. Because it accelerates basically your cooldowns by 4 times and then locks the cooldowns. It's basically a silence for the enemies. However, now the time zone here, the manipulation has been decreased only slightly, 60 to 50%. And then the bigger nerf is really the fact that time zone no longer leashes enemies. So you're still locked out of your items and abilities, if I remember. So Blink Dagger and Force Staff don't help you get out of time zone. But like heroes like Slark, like Morphling, who have Waveform and Pounce, those heroes are now able to escape time zone. Puck is the same thing. Illusory Orb still lets you get out of time zone, whereas previously, if you were caught in the time zone, you had no escape whatsoever. So Magnus also got a nerfed. If you played either version of Magnus, which was either max in power or max shockwave, depending on the facet, the hero was pretty much in a no-lose situation. He farmed incredibly well. His shockwave, whether at level 1 or level at 4 or 5 or whatever, was pretty much brutal to take down or deal with. And honestly, he was just very, very strong. And he was very comfortable whether he was an offlaner or a mid laner or even safe lane. I've seen some safe lane Magnus players as well. So overall, this kind of tunes down his overall farming capabilities and also reduces his comfort in the laning stage, reducing a little bit of his strength. So Bracer might be necessary to pick up. Makes it a little bit harder to farm to last hit. Honestly, you won't really notice 55 to 54, and then 63 to 62. And then the Shockwave being 90 instead of 75 means it's just a lot less effective in whittling down opponents as you go for a guarantee last hit. I think if you're playing the max empower Magnus build, the Shockwave is kept at level 1. So overall, it's just a nerf to, I would say, the empower build of Magnus. Finally, the hero we all wanted to see nerf, Nature's Prophet, the Ironwood Treant. Nature's Call health of that Treant has been decreased from 800 to 750. Honestly, barely noticeable. However, late game 1550 to 1350 is pretty significant, especially since you're waiting for that level 25 talent to triple that health and damage. Also, Spirit of the Forest, the bonus damage per tree decreased from 4% to 3%. That also affects your Ironwood Treant damage you get from the Treant that you summon that's near Nature's Prophet. So overall, Nature's Prophet has been pretty tuned down in terms of damage. I still think it's very strong. I still think it's a very good comfort hero to pick at all roles, especially if you're in a shitty pub like Guardian and you just want to play as a carry, or if you're in SEA like I've experienced and people just pick Nature's Prophet and just start trying to carry at the pause 4. I think this is still the hero to be. However, he definitely has ramped down in terms of damage, and it makes picking up Revenant's Brooch, especially if you get it too late or later, it makes it a lot less effective because it derives from your overall physical damage output. So Night Stalker is another hero that also kind of needed to be nerfed. His Heart of Darkness bonus health regen at night decreased from 40 to 20%. It's pretty huge, significant cut. The reason they did that is because Night Stalker currently builds 2 bracers, and with Heart of Darkness, the bonus health regen he would get at night with the Night Rain facet, which means you start at night by 0/0, meant that he was pretty much impossible to take down. He had one of the most comfortable starting 5 minutes in the lane that I've ever seen that with any off-lane hero. And he got buffed in 7.38. They gave him a free point in his passive ability. So, yeah, good to see that they tuned down his bonus health regen. I still think it's going to be very difficult to deal with in the lane stage, but at least he's almost manageable. I don't know. They did buff Spirit Vessel. I didn't talk about it in the items, but they did buff Spirit Vessel. So, in that regard, maybe it'll be a lot easier to take him down towards the mid game. Okay, Ringmaster, his Sideshow Secrets, which was his new facet compared to the original, which gave you a different set of items that you probably already seen when Ringmaster first came out. This new one, Sideshow Secrets, basically the Crystal Ball, the Unicycle, and Weighted Pie are actually a lot more effective or valuable in what they do and might be picked up now for Ringmaster. In my opinion, I thought Sideshow Secrets was the more appealing souvenir facet, but apparently most people are choosing the other one. I can't recall the name off the top of my head, but I think you know which one I'm talking about. Now that Crystal Ball indicates the exact position of each hero in the area without revealing their identity, it's a lot more effective if you want to maybe initiate in after that using that Crystal Ball. Unicycle also was another cool item that just didn't work. Like if you try to use Unicycle to escape, if you bumped into like a rock or you hit a branch, you would fall off. If someone damaged you in any single way possible, which with the amount of DOTs that were out there, you would lose Unicycle. And if you pressed any buttons, you basically lose Unicycle. So now it's a lot more capable and versatile and less fragile to use Unicycle. And hopefully people start picking Sideshow Secrets because I actually feel these souvenirs are a lot more appealing. The Weighted Pie also slows movement as an effective hero by 45%, which is pretty significant. The vision and movement speed is recovering over the debuff time. Weighted Pie, it's cute, but no one gives a rat's ass about that one, in my opinion. I think it's Unicycle that's really that one that really gets people excited, at least in my opinion. So let's talk about Silencer. Silencer doesn't seem like he received much of a change. I know you can't read the text here; it's kind of cut off, but basically, Brain Drain, his innate ability. If Silencer is out of range, intelligence will now be stolen only if the dying enemy is debuffed by Silencer the moment they die. This is actually a buff, if I understand correctly. Basically, what was really annoying is that you had to be within range of your attack or somewhere near your attack range of Silencer, and if an enemy died, then you would get the intelligence from, you would then steal his intelligence. However, if you popped a Q on the enemy, or you popped an E on him, and it did a damage over time effect, or you popped your ultimate with, let's say, Aghs Scepter, then Silencer, even though he might get a kill or someone died while Silencer is contributing to a kill, you wouldn't get any intelligence stacks with it. So it kind of hindered Silencer in terms of what should be assumed as free kills, which is kind of a bummer. So now Silencer is going to get those kills and going to get that intelligence if he pops any of his damage over time effects and damage abilities, and finally get the intelligence, even if he's not straight up, within Dick's range of the hero. Templar Assassin. Templar Assassin, I'm actually surprised to see it get buffed. I mean, it has been kind of a forgotten hero. The refraction being buffed, both having a lower cooldown as well as increasing the number of instances from 2, 3, 4, 5 to now 3, 4, 5, 6. Definitely makes it very appealing to play Templar Assassin again, especially during the early stages of the game. That's really the only thing I wanted to talk about. How I think initially they had reduced this back in 7.37 like a year ago or so, and now to see refraction back up might mean that maybe we'll see more Templar Assassin, especially since I didn't talk about it, but they did also buff Dazzle later by giving it 5 extra more damage. So yeah, I think Templar Assassin could be definitely on the board again. Maybe as a mid later, I'm not quite sure. Okay, Tiny, I'm not really here to talk about the crash landing facet upgrade because I still think it's pretty trash. The more important part is the grow nerf. The bonus damage was decreased. Not really that important at level 1, but at level 3, from 180 to 165 is relatively noticeable, as well as the movement speed bonus has been rescaled from 10, 20, 30 to 15. So items like when you pick up Sanj and Yasha, like Harpoon, like even Silver Edge, these items become more and more pertinent or relevant to help justify kind of the loss of movement speed. Granted, I think overall, I think Tiny's still very strong, still a pretty great hero. The bonus damage decrease from grow, not that significant, 5 damage. Maybe it slows down your farm just a tiny bit. I think the current build is something like Echo Saber, Shard, Sanj and Yasha, BKB, Silver Edge, Harpoon, something around there, or in that order, or those items are involved in some way. So yeah, I don't think they want to completely take out Tiny, but I think they are definitely trying to curve out Tiny from being this unstoppable monster from the mid game, when he should be more unstoppable towards the late game with his insurmountable facet. So Wraith King, there's not really much to talk about. I do think he secretly could be a strong hero. The Bone Guard facet is the new way or it's the returned way of how to play Wraith King. It used to be Spectral, the Spectral facet, if I recall. Now it's Bone Guard. Farms pretty freaking quick. And now with the fact that the map is quite spread out in terms of jungle camps, I think playing with the Bone Guard facet and farming with Wraith King is faster than a lot of other heroes. So I definitely recommend maybe trying out Wraith King. He might not be the greatest hero compared to what's out there. Morphling, Ursa, Monkey King mid, I guess. I don't know. But I think for a lot of players that just have trouble farming efficiently, I think Wraith King could be worth noting. Definitely they have buffed his Bone Guard again, from having a lower cooldown to the skeletons lasting longer so they can take out more camps, to the 11 10 talent being removed. So instead of getting all those bonuses from level 10, now you get it right from the get-go, which increases his timing to get his first item, Armlet or Radiance, or both. Okay, I don't know how the computer is running. I'm running on a Surface Pro 8, but conclusion about this patch is, in my opinion, I think this patch really helps us down some key strength heroes that were honestly still too strong since the start of 7.38 and even from the back of 7.37. Having said that, the rise of Agi core heroes are also brutally annoying to deal with and honestly pretty oppressive. I talk about the Morphlings, talk about the Slarks. I think I mentioned Ursa. I think Ursa is going to come up more and more as well. Not to mention that Midlaners have been the same for a very, very long time, except with like Ember Spirit coming back, but Ember Spirit was strong in like 7.36C. Or 7.36, and then also Huskar. Whenever you see Ember Spirit, you see Huskar right behind him, and Huskar also very strong. As well as Invoker is still strong from the previous patch, and now he's strong again this patch, but only because his new Aghs Scepter gets blasted into outer space build with the meteor shower is effing annoying. Anyway, that's it for me. Sorry again for the bad mic quality. If you want me to get a better microphone, definitely subscribe and watch my advertising. I don't know. And I'll see you guys on the stream. I'll be back in Europe at the end of the month.